How you feeling?
I'm high, baby.
How high
Yeah.
are you?
I'm pretty high. Feeling good.
I never
Mm.
thought of you as a like.
I, oh, no. It's to calm the anxiety without getting fat, which is what beer does to you.
Uh,
Mm.
I'm I'm not
Ah,
drinking. I'm trying to shed. I am going to kickboxing classes at night.
excellent.
Have you ever fought a person before? Have you ever been in a fight?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
Not really. I don't like violence. I like it artistically, like in
Uh-huh.
fiction,
Yeah.
but I don't like it in real life. I have a it's a battle I have with myself because I find myself getting enraged over small things a lot,
Hmm.
and I imagine inflicting violence upon the person who offended me, which is, very silly.
Yeah.
But I have to go through this process by which, I get, as it were, enraged or very much angry by something commonplace,
Hmm.
maybe nothing even intentional, and I have to imagine hurting that person. Then I have to judge that as absurd and antisocial and
Uh-huh.
immoral. And then I feel shame that I felt that way in the first place. Then I have to say, free will is most likely not very true. You shouldn't beat yourself up. You shouldn't be ashamed of having those thoughts because you didn't
Hmm.
act upon, like rationalization. And then finally I can pass through.
And by that time, it's
It's
an hour later, and your potential
oh
assailant is on the subway, gone home, and all that
oh
kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Meanwhile, I've lost an hour of my life where I already know these lessons. I already know
Yeah.
that violence is destructive and
Mm.
and harmful. It's not a tool. It's a sort of a malignant or maligned side effect of fighting of resource scarcity in nature.
Uh-huh.
It's but nonetheless I have to go through it. you know that's how you know that's
Uh-huh.
how I think that's a sign of adulthood and maturity, when you don't act on your impulses,
Hmm.
when you delay your action for as long as you need to look at this brain, letting your higher brain get in there, catch up to the situation and analyze it and say, you know what,
Right.
going up to that person's car at a red light that cut you off is not a good idea. And
Right.
here's why.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But that's just what, so, getting high or getting a little buzz going is a way to slow that down even further. Just feel warm and appreciative, and, not get yourself into situations whereby you may have to go through that whole exhaustive process. And maybe if you were in such a situation, especially when you're high, not going through that process at all. Just take It's like, yeah, babe, it's fine. It's fine. This person didn't hold the door for me. Fine. It's all
Mm.
good. I didn't get hit. I held the door, held it for the person behind me. It's all good. I'm not a
Yeah.
bad person.
We're
It's
also
tricky.
very much older
It's
than
tricky.
we used to be.
Yeah, and then slowing down too. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
I'm producing as much testosterone as I did when I was in my 20s. I don't feel as energetic. I don't, it's harder to build muscle mass. It's what little I have. You want to take naps. I don't know. Your sex drive goes. At least my sex drive has gone down
Uh-huh.
mercifully. I mean, I used to be ruled by it. Yeah, even that's gone down.
Yeah, aging. I mean, like I'm doing this kickboxing thing, and we're sparring. Dude, I'd be done in a second. Like I can't fight.
Yeah,
It's
right,
exhausting. It's hard.
right.
It hurts. To punch somebody hurts you. It's like
Hurts
it
you.
defeats the
They don't show
purpose.
that in movies much. Yeah, yeah. It's
Uh,
so easy to damage your hand when you punch someone, I hear.
or your foot. You know how many times I've like split open my toenail, gotten blood all over the place. Yeah, yeah. They don't tell you about that about aging. Your
No,
follicles and of all kinds. Your because your toenails and your hair the same thing, right? Just brittle.
Mm-hmm.
We still got our hair though. We still got
We
that.
do.
Yeah.
We still got, yeah.
Yeah.
Our mamas are like, here, have good hair. And their jeans are like,
And all
good
this
hair.
trauma.
Way. Yeah. Well, it comes with a price. Yeah, it comes at a price. Nothing's free.
It's good talking to you, buddy. So
of course, talking to you, man.
Yeah, it's the highlight of one of the highlights, if not the highlight, aside from my daughter of the week.
Oh, you got a daughter, stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Little Aurora, little dog walking, typhoon loving Aurora. Cutest thing.
It took away the night terrors that I used to be plagued by, right? But they've come back with a pretty strong vengeance recently. It's weird. It sucks. I wrote about it in one of my short stories, referring to time as just this unceasing glacier that pushes you like off the edge of the earth, right? Like there's nothing you can do about it, and I feel that cold front sometimes when I'm sitting there in bed, and it's weird. I think maybe that's why people have more kids. They're trying to like get rid of that feeling, ignore the fact that
out on the Sandman, as it were. Yeah.
So I thought we'd start off this episode of Boozing with a little observation I made about journalism. Something that happened to me yesterday. So how do you think of the representation of Trump in news, generally speaking? Not Fox News, not like the editorial stuff at CNBC. Generally speaking, what is your opinion of how Trump is covered?
I think judiciously, fairly, given how many problems this man has, many legal problems. I mean,
right.
I think what I've mostly written about him has been about his demagoguery, his narcissistic, even sociopathic nature.
Those are editorials, though, right?
No, but they've been, just showing us over and over again, giving us Trump insults Blue Star family of Pakistani descent.
Yeah.
Now, you might say that headline is editorial because it includes the nationality of the Blue Star family.
Yeah.
But what that it could just be Trump insults Blue Star family. Mm-hmm. But still,
no.
Of course, you should add from Pakistani descent because the headline is already showing a nefarious character. It's a fact that he did that. It's not a question of who's your source. The source is television.
Right.
It was broadcast.
The source is Trump's mouth.
The source is Trump's mouth as digitally represented via the marvels of filming or whatever and broadcasting. It's like, all right, so from back, he's editorializing. No, he did this.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I think it's pretty judicious. I think
I wouldn't say that was editorializing. It's like saying Jacob Blake is black, George Floyd is black, right? That's not editorializing. That gives context to why it matters that they were killed.
Story, why it matters.
Yeah.
Why we're talking about it.
Yeah. So the thing that I was noticing, and the thing that's been bothering me for a while, is that. Okay, let me give you an example. Yesterday, I was writing about the the poisoning of the opposition leader in Russia. Yeah. I've been covering that for
far himself, but nonetheless, he's engaged in a noble cause.
And so. I was writing about the fact that the G7 countries were condemning the poisoning, and then when you write a story like that, you start with the top new stuff, and then you put all the stuff at the bottom. One of the things that comes up is the fact that Trump had referred to it, so you got to keep that in, right? You need to put that at the bottom, generally speaking, because he spoke about it on Friday, and I had to write this down because I thought it was important. So. Trump was asked, how should the United States respond to the confirmation that Russian opposition and activist was poisoned with a chemical nerve agent? The response that everybody quoted was, "I think it's tragic. It's terrible. It shouldn't have happened. We haven't had any proof yet, but I will take a look." This is what we all quoted him as saying this because of because this is what newspapers do, but it ends up framing the story as saying Trump refuses to condemn Russia over the poisoning. And the reason why I think that is disingenuous is, may I read you the quote? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do Trump because I can't do it. So he was asked the question.
Not everyone can be as great as me. That wasn't very, I'm sorry.
His answer asked, how should America respond? Trump. Well, I think we have to look at it very seriously if that's the case, and I think we will. There's nobody been tougher on Russia than I have. We get along. I get along with most countries. I get along with North Korea. Remember? We were supposed to be going to war with North Korea. If Hillary got elected, we'd be at war right now with North Korea. That would be a messy war, a very bad war. Many millions of people would have been killed. In the meantime, we've gotten along with them. We didn't get to war. Everyone said that if I was elected, I'd be at war in 1 week. It's been just the opposite. We're doing very well in Afghanistan, bringing the troops down very low level, and other things are happening very interestingly. He mentions the UAE, Germany, Russia, but about Russia's nuclear non-proliferation agreement they're working on. And then he says that is more important than global warming. He mentions China as being presumably third greatest risk after Russia's nuclear weapons and global warming. And then after 5 paragraphs, he says, so I don't know exactly what happened. I think it's tragic. It's terrible. It shouldn't have happened. We haven't had any proof yet, but I will take a look. To quote him as saying just that implies that he knows what the fuck he's talking about. He probably it happens time and time again. The story that drove me, I don't know if I would have covered it, was when they talked about disinfectant. Right? Mm-hmm. He had these long conferences for a while before they were canceled. They came back recently, but about the coronavirus, about his task force. And what happened with that is it's this long spiel he gives, and during the long spiel he talked about UV rays. The UV rays can kill the virus on surfaces, lowering the time frame from 6 hours to like 2 minutes, whatever he was saying. Then it came to question period. There was silence. He turns and says, what about this? What about that? Like he's just fucking talking. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. And then the story came about he is saying we should do this. Well, no, he didn't say it. He's just fucking talking. And then he's
musing aloud.
Yeah. And because we printed it down, people are saying that he suggested we said this, which is not entirely true. And people are actually doing it. He is a buffoon. But should we not show him as the buffoon he is? Not as do you know, does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't you often see, even in editorials, mention of any kind of stupidity on his part. Or buffoonery. I think that'd be an angle I'm not necessarily seeing very much. Because the angle usually is he's very intelligent, but he's incapable of empathy. Sympathy, something like that. So he's not able to check his whims against the expectations of others.
Right.
But I haven't seen a lot of mention of his stupidity. That'd be an interesting angle. Incompetence, yes, but not stupidity.
I've read enough, like I've gone over his transcripts of these. I've seen the press conference because you can't put that entire thing on television. You can't do it, right? If you're just having the story about this one thing, you can't. In a newspaper article, you can't. It would be editorialized, even though it's true to say he rambled on before he said, "I don't know. We're gonna look at it. We don't have any proof." Even though they did have proof, he just didn't know. He can't. There are certain.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. Like, was it already confirmed that Putin's operatives had done this? Like, there was
Germany.
no doubt.
Yeah, Germany had just confirmed that day that,
Yeah,
and that's why he was asked that question. And the day before, his press secretary said, if Russia's responsible, we're going to hold them, accountable. The day before, she was quite strong.
I wonder. I wonder if they've done that, held them accountable.
No, they're not going. Like, that's another discussion. How difficult is it to hold the countries and other people accountable for shit? Right? It shows you how weak. If you don't have a countries rallying behind you, sanctions don't mean shit. North Korea put sanctions on somebody. Go ahead, do it. Let's see how effective those North Korean sanctions are.
Right.
Right. But I just thought that was interesting, and I think it's to Trump's advantage, because if he just says, we don't have proof yet, but I'm going to look at it, it's much more assertive and stronger than rambling on about Hillary Clinton and going to war with North Korea. It's absurd.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know. Like, do you think Trump's, character, like, do you think the language of headlines, even in, traditional articles, not editorials, has been unfair to Trump? Slanted against Trump?
It's not that I'm thinking they're slamming him. I just think the confines of what traditional news makes it very difficult to cover this man correctly. Right? Like, I'm not saying that we're being harsh on this man, because he's allowed almost 200,000 people die from the coronavirus in the United States. He has deteriorated the relationships in the Middle East and has brought America closer to war, lost his reputation. So I'm not saying, oh, poor Trump. Oh, poor Trump.
Bob Woodward's new book, basically portrays Trump in under the harshest glare possible. That not only did he know that he did not misunderstand the threat of the coronavirus, he downplayed it to the public. Like, he received, in other words, he's not incapable of understanding what his advisors told him in February. It's just like, you know what, it's an election year. Tone it down. Whoa. Now that's, again,
that's nefarious.
It's nefarious. Like, there's something, that's what I don't know if that'll ever get proven, but that's what I'm waiting to see in an actual headline, not just an op-ed,
like, I think it's
pretty food.
I think he is a selfish man, and obviously probably like a psychopath, and he just only cares about himself and his friends, and he runs his administration that way.
Enjoys hurting people. I don't know that much.
Pardon?
I don't think he cares. I don't, because a psychopath enjoys hurting people, right? No, I don't know if he's that. He's certainly he's certainly narcissistic,
right?
And he may be a sociopath. Maybe
that's probably fair.
Whatever I do, it's fine. I don't want to hurt nobody, but if they ask for it, they're going to get it, kind of thing.
Right.
I want this fucking nightmare to be over, but it's life. It's just, this is what happens sometimes. You have, on the one end, you have a group of fatty acids and protein bonded together in space-time that docks with your cells and, replicates itself, gets your body's immune response gets you sick. Okay, that happens all the time. But yeah, also there are corrupt, oligarchic, kleptocratic countries, governments. So you take one, which is totally likely, which is a virus. You take the other, which is totally likely, meaning a perverted government. You put them together. It's all very believable. It's all very It's just life itself. There's nothing about this that screams to me conspiracy or act of God. I mean, it's just what it is. It happens. Governments betray their mandates all the time. Viruses dock with host cells all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just, these are happening in conjunction with one another, making the crisis even worse than it should be. But I'm just trying to get to a place where I can say, yes about what's going on. Just yes. I don't like it. I don't endorse it. I wish I had the power to change it, but it is. Enough with the anxiety. Enough with Massachusetts is talking about, the union, one of the unions, like I think it's the Massachusetts Restaurants Association, something like that, just said 2 or 3 days ago, 20% of Massachusetts licensed restaurants have already closed down since March. That's a fifth.
Mm-hmm.
Already are closed, and it's still warm. It's 85 degrees Fahrenheit in my room, and the air is 80% saturated right now. It's warm.
Mm-hmm.
Still. So there's outdoor seating, in other words. There's, plenty of chances for restaurants to have 50% capacity as long as they bring it all outside, work something out with the landlords. They can, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Already 20% have closed down. Now, if that's not anxiety inducing, I don't know what is, but I'm trying to all right, I can't, like anything in life, cancer diagnosis, news that somebody you love has just passed away. This is life.
Yeah.
What's happening now is not an aberration, is what I'm trying to say. But man, on the other end, I'm like, all these people dying, no one has a clear response. People are going out of business. There's going to be mass evictions. What the fuck? Like, I don't want anybody to get hurt. Like, I'm a little high right now, so I'm rambling a bit. But I don't want anyone to be hurt anymore. But they have to be. It's fucking life. There's been so much hurt in my life. I know you had so much hurt in your life, buddy. A lot of people we know, we grew up in abusive, alienating households, or in tough towns where you had to fight, scrabble. And they grow up with that sadness, that unmistakable sadness of childhood trauma that just washes over everything. Everything, you look through life through a sepia tone, the whole time. Like there's this Mars-like red, pink air, and it's just everything is just this drab hue.
Right.
And I know the cost of pain, or I know the cost of a bad upbringing, as it were. And I don't want that pain on anyone. And so my own desire to not feel that pain anymore has now spread out the world. And I look around America, man, I see nothing but pain right now. This country's fucking tearing itself apart. I'm sad, and I just want it to stop. Like I've never I don't think I've ever talked like this in the podcast before. Like I try to look at things from as detached a perspective as I can. But I want the pain to stop.
Right.
Racial pain, the pain of poverty, the pain of lack of representation of people, even people who statistically are better off, but they grew up with these wild expectations about their life in America would be, and now they're wearing a fucking mask, bussing tables, or not making a lot of money. And that's, you're essential. Fuck out there, essential worker, and die while we fucking work from home or collect, right? And it's like there's that pain too, the pain of failed expectations. There's all that kind of pain going on in America right now. Well, and it's really fucking. And for what it's worth, who gives a shit what I feel, right? But
I do.
I feel pain from. No, I mean, just speaking to everybody, But I feel that it's just
what exasperates it. Like there's this pain that we live with just before being alive, right? And then we have, like you're talking about, the pain, the trauma on top of it, and then now we have the coronavirus. And then what kind of exasperates it for me and pushes me over the edge is then you got people out there having like fucking gender reveal parties, causing fires, like people who are making it worse. Like the fires, like that's the thing that drives me insane. The people that are going to the rallies, the pro-Trump rallies, because our rights or whatever. It's like, no, you're making it worse. Don't you get that? By having a gender reveal party in the heat wave by fucking shrubbery, and you're blowing up something like it was a huge explosion. I saw the video of the gender reveal party that caused the fire, one of the fires in California. It was a massive bomb. I didn't even figure out what gender the kid was. It was just flames. I guess spawn of Satan is what you're going to get. Like, but it's so selfish. It's try not to be selfish,
Yeah. I can't imagine the word chung in American English, chung in Korean, that human magnetism, if you will, that chung is, practically speaking anyway, something to emotionally hold on to when you're dealing with another person. To not treat them clinically, to treat them with the warmth of fraternal love, or sexual, something like some kind of something to hold on to in another person emotionally. And Americans just don't have chung for one another. They don't. I can't imagine Americans voluntarily, in the main, mind you, not everybody, making the same kinds of sacrifices that Vietnamese, South Koreans, even Kiwis, right? Which is interesting. They're Western European culture largely. There's Maori influences as well, as there should be. It's their land. It's their land. But I don't picture Americans being able to do that. I don't need to yell, but I'm an American. It's so it allows you to burn down fucking Southern California, or go to a party and just no mask, get real close to people, kiss them, breathe real close to them, sneeze on. Oh, great, wonderful. So you could go to a party and grind on some fucking stone chick for 15 minutes. So you just went out and just infected 5 or 6 people. Great. Great. I'm glad that what you got out of the experience and the cost of the experience leveled out.
Somebody needs to write that movie, that one of those teen flicks during a pandemic. Dude, man, it's graduation. We gotta get laid. Everybody dies. You go to a party, try to get. Everybody gets corona. They die.
Yeah, it's like Reservoir Dogs. There's just no survivors by the end of the movie. Even Steve Buscemi gets killed in Reservoir Dogs. You can hear him getting shot by the cops at the very, very end. But there's some speculation behind that too. Did Mr. Pink actually survive Reservoir Dogs? It's interesting. But anyway, sorry. Oh my God, do we have time left?
It's that time. It's that time. So shall we? We got to pose though. Hold on. I gotta get in here.
Make a point.
Starting off this week, boozing through lit. Fuck it up.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah. 맥주 한 병 주세요. 아니, 맥주 말고, 한라산 하얀 거 하나 주세요.
알겠습니다.
아,
냉장고 안에 있습니다.
Yeah, man. I need that 안에 거.
밖에.
I need that. Yeah, 하얀색 안에 거. Like, I need that outside the fridge, room temperature, white label soju. Bitch, get it? Yeah, baby. Oh my God, I missed the permanent soju tent.
Yeah, it's not there.
Man.
Nothing exists anymore.
Of course it isn't. Dude, it arguably shouldn't. You remember what it was like to take a leak there? You had to pass through the fucking gates of hell. It was a fucking shit show to take a leak at that place. You walked into a rape pit. Like it was a fucking... You walked into a fucking Ebola den.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, where you get raped. Like you had your face in a fucking spider's web.
Yeah.
And it stunk of acrid, stale piss and hormones and fucking pill residue.
You're lucky you didn't cut your wiener on a hanging nail and get tetanus. Yeah, no, it was bad.
Oh, tetanus would be the least of your words. You get fucking AIDS. You get fucking Black Death.
Good times, though. Good times. I miss places like that. Everything's so gentrified.
Huh?
Everything's just so gentrified. Everything's so clean now. Everybody's wearing like leather aprons. You know, like that's what it is now. Leather aprons and
fucking butches. Like, why are they wearing leather aprons?
Because it's cool.
I'm gonna cut you a nice hunk of ribeye, right?
So shall I get into my little my precy, my spiel, boozing through Heirlooms?
I apologize for my waywardness. My bad.
we won't have too much time to talk through this, but I think that's all right. So, what is the story?
Hate it.
Yeah, you hated it, which is good to know. Because I know why. I think I know why. What is a story when its main force, its main character for being appears as nothing more than text messages, selfies, and flashbacks? As some of you may know, or may have figured out, this is sort of an experiment, this boozing through lit. An exercise for us, two struggling writers, to struggle and figure out how to be better. And to look at top shelf, what is considered top shelf words, so that maybe one day we could be in the weekly mag. And if you haven't already noticed, I'm always the reticent one, the one who seems more down of the two of us in the stories we've read. But that is because I'm hunting for what? Haven't exactly figured out. Ben, a young black man in Houston, hosts Mitsuko. I'm terrible. Mitsuko. Yeah, Mitsuko, the Japanese mother of his boyfriend Mike, who's flown back to Japan the day after his mother arrives to Houston to visit his dying father in Japan. This premise is comedic. One of those slapstick, almost British drawing room plays of manners, but it isn't funny. Mitsuko is angry and lonely and upset. Her son, whom she ostensibly flew across the world to see, has decided to spend months with his dying father, who he hasn't seen in decades. Ben is upset and lonely and angry. His philandering boyfriend left him with his mother after dropping a bombshell on them that they aren't working. And the mismatched pair bond in their loneliness and love for Mike, and maybe more so over their anger he flung them together. The piece is a nice, contained story. It's a moment. It's about a relationship. I like that I could see it, and more importantly, feel it. The story is written in the present tense without the use of quotation marks, so you know it's modern. And it contains an emoji. And Mike's actions are never understood, but I don't know if that is more the author's fault or the New Yorker's for feeding us, yet again, another excerpt from another forthcoming novel. To be fair to the Metropolitan Mag, it labeled its work as fiction, not as short stories, but to not tell us in a blurb beforehand that what we're about to read is a shrunken head of its original state is frustrating. On this episode of Boozing Through the New Yorker, Bryan Washington's Heirlooms. So what do you think about reading an emoji in a book, in a short story?
By that time, I was almost expecting it. Because you had this, it was just you had if one of the characters texted an acronym, whatever it's called, a webonym, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, oh, all right, so maybe I'll see an emoji later. And sure enough, we did. But it's like it's almost duplicating textually what what the other character sees on the screen of the cell phone.
Right.
So I'm like, well, emoji wouldn't be that much of a stretch. I really wasn't that surprised. I really wasn't. I mean, obviously, I'm like, oh, an emoji. I had never read that in the New Yorker before, or in print form ever, obviously. But on an online magazine, I've never seen an emoji before.
I read mine in print. It's weird. It's colored.
There's an emoji. Obviously, well, yeah, you commented on.
It's colored. It's weird. It's very odd. You got this like black and white text, and all of a sudden a winking yellow or orange face at you. It's kind of odd, but it's very contemporary that way.
Let's start with you, because you liked it.
So what I liked about it was the fact that. So, for instance, let's look at the last story we did about your best friend.
Loved it.
Yeah, I felt the front part of it was kind of exposition. And this is partially because I'm struggling with the story myself of trying to contain and tell a moment in a story. I'm having difficulty with that. So I'm looking at these stories in that way as well. And this one starts and ends in kind of a contained piece. There is no runway to it, and there's no emergency landing. I don't know. The metaphor's not working, but there's no runway to it. It just starts and you go. And I like that. I like the fact that...
I disagree.
That's fine.
What made me hate it was the first Hemingway bit of, like you said, no quotation marks, dialogue. Immediately when that section ends, there's exposition.
Right.
Like, God damn you. Don't do that. It's oh, you fucking cheater.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God.
Okay.
And then so I was compelled to look up his biography. And that's when I knew that he was a 27-year-old.
Yeah.
And I'm like, a gay black 27-year-old. And I'm like, oh man, he's good. But he needs help.
Yeah.
And the editor was too scared to do it.
I wonder...
Did you feel that?
Yeah, I did, actually. And because it's also an excerpt from a forthcoming novel, I hated the way they introduced the excerpt, the exposition, right? Because, why don't I have it right in front of me? Because the way they started it, it was like, another thing, : and I didn't understand why what do you mean another thing? Like,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, I didn't like that.
That was jarring.
So I agree with you about the exposition thing. It is, and I wonder if it's just like that
Don't start out as Hemingway. Like, that's my point. Like, don't start out like you're gonna fucking, like you're gonna make us do the extra work to figure out the story. That's cool. I don't mind doing that. I get why people do it. Because they want them to be better engaged with the material. They have to think harder. That's cool. I get it. But don't fucking do that for a few hundred words and then switch to exposition, you fucking cheater.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not disparaging him. He's 27.
Yeah.
He's a young man. And he's already writing this well. And he deserves it.
Yeah. No, it's quite like... I believe... I don't know. The more I think about it, the less I believe. Like, it bothered me that I know nothing about Mike. Really, like
Mike's the boyfriend
who
of
goes
the
to Japan.
Narrator, if you will.
Who's Ben? Yeah, and so the more I think about him, I had a hard time understanding him and why his mother would come. At this, like, there's a lot of stuff I just didn't get. Like I said, it felt like a British play of mannerisms, like a oopsie daisy, like a miscommunication. You got the wrong invitation in the mail, and you go to a party that you're not invited to, but you pretend to be Mr. Ralph Ellison or something, to fit in with everyone. Like it's there's some stuff in here that not that some stuff here. There's some stuff that's not here that would be helpful. And
you like it because it helped point the way toward something that you might do to finish the story that you're writing?
I mentioned this last time too. I read in a lot of ways to steal. And there's not...
Of course.
I did not end my preci with a quote from the short story because I couldn't figure out any line that I wanted to say that stood out to me really that much without give out the whole thing.
Mr. Washington's given probably the most succinct description of a city I've ever read that was convincing. It was beautifully done. About Houston.
Yeah.
How Houston is this, just different neighborhoods from different areas, and they're all this sort of pieced together.
Stolen from other around the world.
Slapdash town. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's that was cool. Like,
really
not to disparage his
really
writing.
good.
He is a good writer.
No, his writing's okay. But he needs guidance, and it's like, why didn't the New Yorker editorial staff help him with this? Or did they? And this is the best they can come up with. I mean, it's dog shit. The writing is trivial. It's stripped down. It's not, dude. I have a fucking billion things I could divert my attention with.
Right.
Write better. Write in a way where, like Moby Dick, like fucking like Cormac McCarthy. Stop with the Hemingway ripoff. Stop it. Hemingway did it better than anyone. Vonnegut did it pretty good too. That's enough. That's enough. Enough with the Hemingway. Enough with the terse, sort of tough guy. Stop with the knock it off.
Did you believe that? Did you believe that with the Japanese mother, Mitsuko? Like, she's fucking swearing and...
No, I didn't believe it. I didn't even believe it for half a second. I'm like, she would never talk like this.
Yeah, no,
ever.
She wouldn't.
There's no Japanese woman who would ever talk like that in English to a stranger. Ever. Even if she disliked black people, she wouldn't do it. I don't believe it for a minute, half a second even.
Yeah, me neither.
And she's using really idiomatic English at times too. Like really,
and drops her words at some point. Like drops some of the articles and stuff, which doesn't make sense when she uses some of these expressions in English.
Right.
Like so. Right. And I couldn't tell if that's the way she talked or if that's the way the writer was trying to do this Hemingway-esque type language, right?
She could be speaking Japanese the way that Hemingway characterized Spanish and. For whom the bell tolls, because Ben wouldn't be able to understand it. Ben apparently can't even speak Spanish.
Yeah.
It's although somehow in the very first sequence we know that a Venezuelan dude, quote unquote, and again, so bad, you're right, it sucked.
Yeah.
A Venezuelan dude was yelling at his kids, "Have you gone insane?" for doing something that they would have done a billion times before, which is kick a soccer ball against the garage door. They would have done it a fucking billion times before that. They're kids.
Yeah.
And they're stereotypical Venezuelans, which means they play soccer. It's okay if a black gay man is stereotypical. It's fine. It's totally fine. That most of the white people in the story are prejudiced, drunk, or pedophilic. It's totally fine. It's great. It's fine. It's great. It's great. This is the future of literature. But it's like, how would Ben know what the Venezuelan father is saying? It's jarring. And again, Mr. Washington has every right to be as shitty as he is. He's 27. I get it. But it's up to the editorial staff of the New Yorker to fucking help him out a little bit. Just help him out. Editors don't write the story, but editors know what you're trying to say and help you express it in a manner that's more marketable. Or with a really conscientious editor, in a manner that's more beautiful.
Right.
But Ben can't speak Spanish. They comment on it.
Uh-huh.
So how the fuck does you know what a Venezuelan dad is saying? And why is the Venezuelan dad saying something that would never be said? Because his kids are always kicking the soccer ball again. What do you...
And what Brett's talking about is in the first 3-4 paragraphs, this comes up.
Yeah,
something like that. This is during the beginning. It's... Yeah, I knew this was going to happen. The lack of quotation marks in the thing, in the story, wasn't jarring to me, but it was a signal that someone is trying to write more confidently than they actually necessarily are. Right? Like, why do away with such a common like quote, like punctuation, unless you're trying to convey.
McCarthy did it. McCarthy did it in Outer Dark, which is his first book.
McCarthy does it in every book, doesn't he?
So in every book that he's ever written, even going back to the first one. Mm. But it's not so much like the exclusion of punctuation marks, let's say. It's just the bad writing. It's the jarring switching in tone. It's the fact that there's this coy, wink. Like, I'm going to give you the barest minimum, but I'm not going to do it in the way you thought I would from the beginning. Mm-hmm. I had this build as a show, but I'm going to tell when I need to. I don't know.
I did. The reason why I brought up the quotation marks as an issue with that is because I think it's kind of emblematic of the entire thing. It's this facade of confident writing. Right? That's what the terseness also hides as well. Right? That's what using an emoji kind of does too. Because to do it well takes a shitload of confidence as a writer. And I don't know if this story obviously doesn't succeed in that. Now, other than the description of the town, is there anything that you would take from this book? Anything that you could learn from this book, the story?
No. I mean, I would have been more merciful, obviously, if you want to. I would have been more, glowing, as it were, if it had not been in the New Yorker.
Right.
It's like, this is the literary magazine of the country. Uh-huh. And it's like a 27-year-old's unfinished work, written as a 27-year-old, which is to say, likely not to be terribly memorable. Uh-huh. What the fuck you doing? Is there nothing else that can be published instead?
We should maybe consider. I mean, I enjoyed doing this. I got the subscription to the New Yorker to do this, but maybe we should consider looking at other avenues too, because it's getting frustrating being told.
No, the last story we did, is great. Mm-hmm. You're My Best Friend was really interesting.
I loved Two Nurses Smoking.
Yes, that was beautifully written too.
Okay, well, look at Two Nurses Smoking and this one are similar in some regards in the fact that they're terse, the fact that they kind of jump a bit, right? Mm-hmm. But that one, Two Nurses Smoking, was built that way. And this is first person, right? This is not...
It was more hard than Two Nurses Smoking. This one was dry. I thought Ben, Mike were assholes.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter that they're gay, they're assholes. They're just assholes. They swear at each other. Mm. They're young, they're stupid. I don't care about them. I don't care. Now, if the narrator was third person, I'd care. Yeah. There's a third person omniscient narrator could say, these are young idiots. Mm-hmm. Fumbling in the dark. Let's have mercy on them.
Yeah.
No, it's a young idiot, a selfish, foul-mouthed, no ambition, nobody talking about his dumb incidental experiences, which he can't understand. It's not, I don't give a fuck. I don't want to know. It's like, somebody of diminished mental capacity describing, the Battle of Midway. I don't give a fuck what you think. I want to know. I want to know from somebody with a camera. Or
That's a good point. Yeah.
Who was actually, I don't want to. I don't want to know what a dummy, or if you will, more generously, what a very selfish, badly raised young man going through a very hard time. I mean, it's hard coming out as gay in the Black community. It's hard coming out as gay anyway, and no matter who you are. But being Black and being gay, a Black man being gay, it's hard. And then you're dating a Japanese American, or I guess he's American.
He's Japanese American. Yeah. He moved there like in his teens, I believe it said, early teens. So he's.
I didn't pick that up, but I believe you. Yeah. So it's hard, but it's like at the same time, there's no remove from it.
Right.
It's like his before. It's like the perspective is a strange one.
That's a really good point about how third person gives you more sympathy for the people. First person.
Right, these are dummies.
Yeah. And why be in a person's voice?
Yeah.
Like, why be in somebody's head? What is the benefit of being in somebody's head? Why do we make these choices? Why did this have to be in the first? And I think if you didn't put it in the first person, you might have, if you were writing in the third person, it might have been kind of boring to write. Like, you might have been like, what's the point now?
I mean, it's you were right to point out the humor in a young gay Black man and a older Japanese woman. Would that they be roommates? It's kind of funny.
It is funny.
Bonding through food.
Yeah,
it's pretty damn interesting. It's a very interesting idea.
But he doesn't care about. They don't care about each other. They care about Mike, right? Mike. Like they only talk and deal with Mike. It's not like they develop a friendship or a relationship outside of him.
If they do, it's not developed there. That piece of prose we read.
They always talk about, tell me about my son. Oh, you can't tell me anything I don't know about my son. I'm not interested in this conversation. Tell me something about that's what it is. Now, next week, any final parting words for Mr. Washington's Heirlooms?
Well, I think he's going to have a brilliant career. He's 27. Everything I said is contingent upon that. I'm not trying to be unkind, but I'm eager to see what he comes up with later in life.
Yeah,
with the right editor.
We'll see. He probably will have more pieces in the New Yorker. We'll come across him again. Now, next week, for those who want to play along, we are looking at where is it? We're looking at Flashlight by Susan Choi, or Che. She is from South Bend, Indiana, educated at Yale and Cornell. Korean father, Jewish mother, and she worked at the New Yorker as a fact checker. So, and this, I believe, is a short story, not an excerpt.
Oh, nice. Let's try it out.
Yeah. If you have comments, questions, concerns, worries, thoughts, hopes, dreams, desires, email them to us at boozingthroughlit@gmail.com. I'm Brett. He's Darryl. Nope. I'm going to do that again. I'm Darryl. He's Brett. We're boozing. Keep scribbling. Woo! That was fun.